Okay, so we have Algebra 2, Module 9, Lesson 1, Adding and Subtracting Rational Expressions. So our essential question is, how can you add and subtract rational expressions? So let's look at our Explore. Given a rational expression, identify the excluded values by finding the zeros of the denominator if possible and simplify the expression. So we have our Explore A here, example, and the denominator of the expression is going to be x minus 1. Okay, so since division by 0 is not defined, the excluded value for the expression are all the values that would make the denominator equal 0. So if there's multiple factors for the denominator, then you'd have to look at each individual factor and say, okay, what would the value of x be in this situation that would make it equal to 0? And then that would be an excluded value. But in our situation, we're just got our singular binomial. We're going to set it equal to 0, solve for x, and get x equals 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and scoot up. So begin simplifying the expression by factoring the numerator. So we're going to look at our numerator and going to actually say, well, technically it's a form of a difference of 2 squares, but notice that our 1 remains the positive, and in this situation our x's are what are going to have a positive and negative, and all of our denominator. Okay, so divide out a common terms common to both the numerator and the denominator. So here is a really neat essential trick that you can do. And what that is by factoring out basically the negative 1. And when you do that, what was positive, my x, becomes negative. And what was negative, my 1, becomes positive. And so that is an essential trick to be able to basically switch the terms within any binomial, or even a trinomial can possibly rearrange things potentially as well. And now you can actually eliminate. But an important thing to also note is that this negative doesn't disappear, because there's not a negative 1 up here to divide out and a negative divided by a negative. You still have a positive binomial divided by a negative 1, so the negative stays. Distribute and you get your answer. Okay, so simplified expression is this here. You have your problem, you have your answer, and you have your excluded value. Okay, what is the domain for the function? What is the range? Remember, domain deals with our values of x, range is our values of y's. So the domain is all real numbers except when x equals 1. Its range is all real numbers except for y equals negative 2. Okay. Alright, so what factors are divided out of the numerator and the denominator? Common factors. Alright, I hope this helped.